Well, few observers of international affairs are as well read or as eloquent as Greg Sheridan. Across the pages of The Australian and here on Sky News, his analysis of our rapidly changing world and Australia's place in it is unsparing and unmissable. So too, though, is his recent writings on Christianity. His latest book, Christians, the Urgent Case for Jesus in Our World, is no exception. In typical Sheridan style, it's witty, it's engaging, pretty provocative. And as the Western world wrestles with yet another crisis of cultural confidence, it couldn't be more timely. Greg Sheridan joins me now from Melbourne. Well, Greg, terrific book. I loved it. I texted you, as you know, at the time when I was reading it a couple of weekends ago.
Thanks, man.
Everything that makes Western civilization great, freedom, family, equality, all of that has an underpinning in Christianity. So why are we so ashamed in the West of our Christian roots?
Well, Peter, it's wonderful to be with you. I'm thrilled that you liked the book, and you pointed out to me one of the people I wrote about, unbeknownst to me, was one of your best friends. And the question you ask is very acute. So I think the big project of disenchantment and distraction in the West in the last couple of hundred years has been to convince us that belief in God is unreasonable and that the New Testament is all lies and fraudulent and fake. So I tackled the idea about belief in God in my last book, God is Good for You. And in this book, it's a search for Jesus in the New Testament, and then an argument that the New Testament is historically very reliable, and then an examination of Jesus' friends today. And it does strike me, most Christians in the West, or a lot of Christians, are a bit embarrassed to own up to their faith. And it's a bizarre moment, you know, that the West has got to. Everything good that we like in modern liberalism is a direct result of Christianity. And yet we've come to this view that Christianity is racist, sexist, exploitative, and so on. And I don't think we can survive as the West if we take that view of our own tradition. Of course, Christianity is a universal religion, but we are competing with societies that are full of self-belief. The Chinese Communist Party believes in itself. You know, India is not ashamed of its Hinduism. Indonesia is not ashamed of its Islam. Only us. And we have this wonderful thing. And so one part of this book is just to encourage Christians to own their beliefs in public a bit more.
So how big is the problem then of the near absence of Christianity in our life? It's not in our school curriculum. I mean, you talk about important figures like Paul, they're non-existent nowadays.
Absolutely right, Peter. So we, force our poor kids to endure safe schools programs and so on. And yet here is the central book of our civilization. Now, it is a universal book, but it is also historically the central book of our civilization, the Bible. And we make sure no kid ever comes anywhere near it. And one thing I wanted to do was demystify the New Testament. It's tremendously approachable, very easy to get into, very graphic, very immediate, very human. One of the great scholars of Paul, N.T. Wright, argues that Paul is one of the most important figures in human history. This is a common view amongst historians. And his writings should be studied in history, philosophy, psychology, literature, instead of which, you know, you can go through the whole of your school life and a liberal arts education at university and never come across Paul's writings. Now, even at the level of cultural literacy, forgetting about religious belief, that's just crackers. It's a kind of a suicide pact for the West. You know, we're never going to know our own history. We're never going to know the things that made us well and vigorous and young and fabulous. And we're never going to know the things that made us ill. And instead, then we invest sort of petty political causes with this transcendent quality. And that's why I think contemporary politics, especially on the left, but even in parts on the right, can become so intolerant because they've lost sight of anything transcendent. So their immediate little obsessions those are the things that they try to get meaning in life from. And of course, you shouldn't try to get meaning in life out of, not ultimate meaning, out of, political combat.
What I found really engaging in the book was the interviews you conducted with a range of people, including my good friend from Gaira, Gemma Cecilia, who runs the St Jude School in Tanzania, which I know a lot of people know and support. But you also conducted a whole lot of interviews with secret Chinese Christians via secure phone lines. One of the things, a really potent memory for me, was being in Beijing and going to a Christian church service, something that is still very dicey for so many Chinese. Give my viewers a sense at home. What do they have to say, and what is life like for Christians in President Xi's China?
Well, Xi Jinping has really intensified the repression of Christianity. But the explosion of Christianity in China, you really have to believe in divine providence. There were 3 or 4 million Christians when the communists took power in 1949. There's now somewhere between 70 and 120 million Christians. A lot of them have spent years in prison. They're semi-underground churches. They're barely tolerated now, but it's extreme repression. You can't get a job in the government without promising that you don't believe in God. They're insisting that they put pictures of Xi Jinping in the few churches that they do allow. They're insisting that Christian churches acknowledge Xi Jinping and the Communist Party as the head of their church. But Chinese Christians are fantastically heroic. They're not searching for martyrdom. They're not looking for trouble. They're not trying to overthrow the Communist Party. They just want to live as decent citizens. And their story is inspiring.
Well, congratulations. I've run out of time, I'm afraid, Greg. I could talk to you all night about this, but well done on the book. Hopefully everyone who's watching now will get a copy of it. Christians, the Urgent Case for Jesus in Our World.